This video is brought to you by SimpliSafe. More about them later in the video. Welcome back, everybody. In the last video, we got the Eclipse driving, but it didn't drive very well because a lot of things are unfinished and it needs a lot more things to drive well. We've got a bunch of stuff here to install. We have a bunch of other stuff that's not here to install, and all that is going to get the car driving nicely. Windows for the firewall, oil cooler, catch can, fan controller. We've got an oil pressure and temperature sensor from Link. New connectors for the injectors because the factory connectors are broken, and another O2 sensor. Just a bunch of little stuff. We're gonna go ahead and get started by installing this oil pressure and temperature sensor, wiring that up, then doing the oil cooler. Oil cooler will keep the oil safe. Then with this, we can set up a bunch of safeties in the ECU to protect the engine in case it does ever lose oil pressure. So now we're gonna go ahead and get the intercooler system working, because I mean, we don't really need that for, just driving around, but might as well get it done now. So we have to wire up this water pump. Now, since this is a factory BMW water pump, it's not as simple as just giving it 12-volt power and ground. From the factory, this thing's got like a controller and all sorts of fancy stuff to vary how fast it pumps and a bunch of BMW nonsense. So I did some research online, and it turns out if you provide pin 1 and 2 with 12-volt, and then pin 4 with the ground, it will run at 100% speed all the time, which that's fine. We don't need it to have a variable speed or anything like that. Here are wires right here. We just gotta wire up a switch 12-volt and the ground. Water pump's wired up. Fingers crossed. We should be able to. Oh yeah, it's good. So now we can fill it up with fluid, which is just gonna be water for now. You guys did point out that the reservoir is slightly lower than the intercooler, but I've got the big bleeder funnel that we can, use to get that above the water. So we got the air to water intercooler all situated. Not gonna lie, we spent about an hour and a half bleeding it and thinking that it wasn't working, just to find out that it was actually working the entire time. We're gonna go ahead and fire it up, see if the oil pressure sensor works and such, and see what happens with the intercooler system. So now we can start working on the oil cooler. Now from the factory, this thing had one of those coolant oil coolers where it passes coolant through the oil filter housing to cool off the oil. But we went ahead and put a different oil cooler housing on there, which uses an air cooler. So here we have a Mishimoto oil cooler. This is their 19 row. Now ideally we would put this up front where it's gonna get a lot of airflow, but then we're gonna have oil lines running all the way to the front and then all the way to the back. And that's gonna decrease the oil pressure of the engine, and that's not good. So we had to mount this thing somewhere in the back here. There's a couple different spots I thought of, but I ended up settling right here on top of the subframe. The line's going to the pump, super short, and then there's this gap of air, which will hopefully have enough airflow through it to cool this thing off. Worst case scenario, we'll put a small fan on it, and at least has a place to suck air up into. We are gonna be getting rid of this glass window and getting a Lexan window with some vents in it, and so that's how air is actually gonna flow through this entire back section. But yeah, let's go ahead and mount this thing, then make up some oil cooler lines. oil cooler's in, all the lines are made. I'm super happy with the way it came out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and crank it over just to build the oil pressure, get oil in the oil cooler. That way we can check the oil level, add more if we need to, and see if it leaks. Now we didn't have the computer plugged in, so we couldn't see the exact oil pressure from the aftermarket sensor, but the little light on the dash went away, so it means we built oil pressure. Like by itself, I'd be fine. The fact that I had, 300 milligrams earlier today. Panera has these like caffeine-infused lemonade. This lemonade's got 400 milligrams of caffeine in it. Milligrams, see, I'm losing it. I'm going crazy. How's that safe? Like, it's so easy to drink like 2 of these.
There's no warning on it either.
There's no warning. That's like 3 monsters, 400 milligrams of caffeine. There's like 3 monsters worth of caffeine in this thing. Whoa.
It's like chuggable lemonade too.
Right, it's delicious. It doesn't taste like it's got dangerous chemicals on it. So we got our Mishimoto 3-port baffled catch can mounted in the car and all hooked up. It's right down there. It's a super compact, awesome little thing. The bottom just unscrews when you want to empty it. So that's the reservoir for it. And yeah, you'll see that it's just normal rubber hoses for now. I've got everything to convert it into like all AN lines, but I forgot to get weld bungs for the valve cover. So we'll do that later. For now, it's just routed with the stock ports on the valve cover. Now we are gonna go ahead and mount another coolant reservoir up here, or back here, just to use as the coolant overflow. Fan control wired up, fans kick on at 190, turn off at 180, perfect. So now we're gonna drive the car again and let it self-tune a bit. But we still have a little bit more work to do before we drive it on the street. We're just gonna drive it around the block area for now. But first, let me thank this video's sponsor, SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is the convenient, easy to use security system that experts trust. Now, I've been talking about SimpliSafe for the past, few months. I have it here at my shop and at my home, and I absolutely love it. There's a few awesome things about SimpliSafe. Number 1, it's super easy to set up. You can go online, get the system designed specifically for your needs and shipped directly to your door. Everything is wireless and super easy to set up. It takes only a few minutes, only requires hand tools. Another awesome thing, they've got a bunch of sensors, door entry sensors, smart locks, exterior cameras, interior cameras, a bunch of more high-tech stuff like motion detectors, glass breaking sensors, water sensors. Now, I love SimpliSafe for a couple of reasons. For one, it's made my life more convenient. The smart lock is so awesome, being able to unlock and lock the shop in my house from my phone. I don't have to be fiddling with my keys, trying to unlock the door when my hands are full. Just type in the code, doors open. The security cameras have also been awesome.
Got a V8.
Just a few weeks ago, my landlord had someone break in, and I was able to go back through the app, check to see if the camera captured any recordings, just to make sure that nobody messed with my cars. Thankfully, they're all untouched. Being able to monitor your possessions through an app with SimpliSafe is so cool. Now, if you guys are interested, you can save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan, and you'll get your first month free. If you're interested, go to simplisafe.com/Gingium. I'll have a link in the description and up there in the cards. Huge thank you to SimpliSafe for sponsoring the video and continuing to support the channel. Let's get back to the first drive. Dude, already with just a little bit of self-tuning, the ECU's done, like the throttle control is way better. We have to do to get this thing street ready is to put the windows into the firewall. Here we have a huge sheet, 1/4 inch thick Lexan plexiglass or whatever. We're gonna be turning this into our window. There's gonna be one on each side of the firewall, and we're gonna be using this yoga mat from Walmart as a little gasket. The window is gonna be riv nutted in, so it can be removable if you ever need to access anything or replace it or any of that stuff. Kurt just had a really good quote. You don't go to the grocery store hungry, and you don't go to Home Depot without measuring first. Looking at the different sizes of Lexan, and we're like, oh, that one's gonna be too small, that one's gonna be too small. So we bought the biggest one there. And as you can tell, like, this window is tiny. Like, this is the window right here. We could make 8 of these windows with this sheet. We tried to fit this thing in the fit, that didn't work, so we had to drive back to get the truck. It could have been all avoided if we just came here and measured first. We didn't even think necessarily this would be big enough, and
Clearly it is.
clearly our memory was not very accurate. So we got all the factory wiring inside the cab cleaned up. Now we're probably gonna get to finishing up the rear wiring for all the taillights and stuff, because we need that to drive it on the street. This bulkhead connector for the back is all done. Much easier than the engine one, because there was 12 pins instead of 47. Now we gotta kind of cut a hole in the firewall to get this on the other side. This is gonna be a bulkhead connector. It's gonna actually like bolt to the firewall, which is pretty cool. Temporary solution. Maybe. All right, all the lights should be wired up. I don't remember if they need the key or not.
Nope, they don't.
It's not, okay.
Those are good.
Good, yeah.
Hazards work, yeah.
Beautiful. You're wondering why we stopped working on the window there for a second, it's because I broke the riv nut gun. I have 2 more of the tools for the riv nut gun. So let's finish these windows. We just got the brake booster line, the brake booster vacuum line all ran. It's a combination of a -8 AN line and then a hard line going the majority of the length of the car. Both those lines are stiff, so they won't collapse under the vacuum. Now would be a great time to test drive the car and finally get it on the road. But I lost the key. So either getting a locksmith here or going to the dealership. In the meantime, let's do like a bolt check or something. As we wait for a locksmith to come and save us, because I'm an idiot and I lost the only key, we're gonna put this thing on the scale and see what it weighs now. See how much weight we added or removed and see what the weight distribution is. Very curious. It's pretty much at its final weight now, but it's got almost a full tank of gas. Everything in the back is there besides the exhaust, and that's not gonna weigh that much. So yeah, this is gonna be a good final weight. We're all zeroed out. If you remember correctly, our goal was to get close to a 45-55 weight distribution. From the factory, it was like 63, 30 something. Like it was really, really, really front heavy. $2,700 pounds. It was like 2,760 stock. I need to do some math, but these numbers look pretty damn close. So let's see. The rear percentage is 53. It's only 50%, 53% rear. Do you know how good that is? That is almost a 50-50 weight distribution. Dude, that is so awesome. The front is 46. So it's 46% front, 54% rear. 1% better than what we were hoping. Yeah. And it's 70 pounds lighter than it was. Wow, that is so sick. Even with all the sound editing and all that stuff. I'm gonna send this info to Mateo. He's gonna be so pumped, because that was all him figuring all that out. So locksmith isn't gonna be here until tomorrow. So let's chop this stuff up and make it fit. Now at this point we had driven the car a couple times to do some tuning, and we realized that the back hatch or engine bay, whatever you want to call it, was getting pretty dang warm. As it is now, there's no airflow through that back hatch area, and so as a temporary solution until we have time to build a new vented Lexan rear window, I decided to go ahead and remove the glass window. We got the latch in, we got the window removed. Hopefully that fixes our issues, even though they weren't really issues. Let's take it for the first drive. Now we've already driven it, we've already done a little bit of tuning. But let's take you guys for a drive. We've gotten the tune decent, not amazing, but the cool thing is we've gotten to experience some of the turbo noises. It's still just open downpipe, so that's not done, but the Flutter. Everything's working great. I'm so happy that we took the time to put the interior together. It handles bumps great, relatively. I mean, it's still got coilovers, so it's stiff, but the chassis feels solid. And that was one of my biggest complaints about this car when it was totally factory, is that it felt really rattly and not solid. Not terrible though. It's gonna be dark, but do you hear that? Around the corners back here, it feels so planted. It's awesome. So, I mean, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but for the amount of stuff that we've done to this car since the last time we drove it, that was by far the most dialed, well-balanced first drive I've ever gone on. All the other projects, like the first drive, is like it barely driving and feeling like crap. This is essentially a finished car besides the tune. I think I'm actually gonna try to drive it home tonight. Maybe, if we can get the headlights working. It was just the fact that we didn't have a key the last time we tested the lights. Do I feel confident enough driving this thing home? I don't know. It's a little scary.
I mean, I'll be following you, so if anything happens,
sure.
somebody will be there. Not sure what I'll be able to do, but...
Right. And that night, after mid-engine swapping this Eclipse in less than 3 months, and with a total of like 5 miles driven on the car, I decided to try to drive it home in the dark, completely untested, but man, it blew me away. It drove better than we did before we started the swap, cruised down the highway at 70 miles an hour, made it home with no issues besides a lot of oil leaks. I then drove it back to the shop the next morning, also without any issues, and man, does this thing look awesome driving down the highway. The fact that we did this build so quickly and have such a dialed, finished feeling car right out of the box makes me so proud and so happy. So, I mean, that's freaking fantastic. The last thing we really have to do before putting this thing on the dyno is make an exhaust for it, and there's some other small stuff. Allergies are killing me right now. I gotta sneeze, but I can't. So for the next video, the goal is to get the exhaust totally done. We're doing something super special, super unique for that. And then drive this thing to FD Atlanta, just for the fun of it. And then, yeah, if you were looking closely, you might have seen part of the exhaust already made, because we had to do some waiting while the key was being made because of this idiot, but that's all right. If you guys want to see the exhaust video right now, you can click up there, check out Patreon, and it'll be there. Huge thank you to anyone who does that. If you guys do want to get entered for your chance to win this mid-engine Eclipse, you can head down to powerjdm.com. Every $1 spent on car parts or merchandise gets you 1 entry. Probably about 20 days left by the time this video is up, so get your entries, boys and girls. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.